What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video, and look at my fancy pen. Anyways, I'm going to be giving you guys not only just a report, but also an opinion on the Darius Slay talk, so let's get into it. We have gotten reports that there are two teams in the lead of the pack for Darius Slay and a potential trade this offseason. Now, we know that the Darius Slay talk has been going on for a while now, and I thought it was important to bring it to you guys because he could be traded this offseason because of his future contract. So the reason the Lions may trade Darius Slay, if you don't know, is because of his contract. So Darius Slay is expected to be one of the highest paid cornerbacks after the season, as this is the last year of his deal. And we know last time this happened with Golden Tate, the Lions actually traded him early. That way, they didn't have to pay that big contract because they weren't going to anyways, and they could get something in return. This is kind of the same situation with Darius Slay, who's coming up on about 29 years old, and he's expected to get a huge contract. So because of that, it's thought that maybe the Lions are going to trade him this offseason. Now, there's no guarantee this will happen. I've talked about what I would do with the Darius Slay situation. I said I would either ask for a lot, and if I get a lot, then I could see taking it, or I'm just going to hold on to him for another year because I think he will ball out this season. I think this could be his best year since 2017 because it is a contract year. So, what are the two teams that are in the lead of the pack? Well, the two teams, according to Pro Football Network, are the Denver Broncos and the Rams. Both of these teams may be looking into a little bit of a cornerback, but I think definitely one team makes a lot more sense, and I guess according to some people, they look like the actual leader of the pack. Then the Rams, for some reason, just kind of came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, they're super interested in Darius Slay. Again, according to a report. So let's get into it. Let's start off with the Denver Broncos. So the Denver Broncos are interested in Darius Slay, aren't you? Okay. Well, this one actually makes sense because they're going to be losing out on Chris Harris. Chris Harris, Jr., the cornerback for Denver right now, a little bit older than Darius Slay, still a solid corner in the NFL. A guy that we tried to trade for at the trade deadline. Reportedly, we tried to trade for him at the trade deadline and never went through because we were asking for a lot in return. I guess we were trying to trade away Darius Slay, possibly get Chris Harris in return, but we were asking for even more than Chris Harris. So the deal never got that close. It never happened. Now, Chris Harris is set to become a free agent, and obviously Denver Broncos are going to be looking for a cornerback, and they were already interested in at least a little bit into Darius Slay, so they may be looking to go get Darius Slay once again. And in this case, for the Detroit Lions, it would probably mean to sign a guy like Chris Harris. We could actually sign Chris Harris and kind of make this flop just in a different way. So like I said, I would ask for a lot here, but according to reports, they believe the Lions are going to be at least asking for a day 2 pick, nothing later, and a player, okay? If they're going to ask for a second or third round pick, they want a player in return, or just a first round pick, okay? That's what I've been able to kind of pull from all the thoughts here. And with the Denver Broncos, you're saving some money, and then I think what would kind of make sense to kind of fit together would be going to get Chris Harris Jr., signing him to your team. You lose out on Slay, you get Chris Harris in return, and then you get a draft pick as well to potentially draft a younger cornerback that can groom into that starting role because Chris Harris is not the youngest player. Now, the problem here is that the Denver Broncos don't actually have a first-round pick. This season, their highest pick comes at number 52. They have 84, 126, 139. Okay, I don't need to go through all of them. They do have 2 picks close to each other later in the draft, but the fact is they don't have a first-round pick, all right? That's what it comes down to. They don't have a first-round pick this season. So the thought is here that they're going to have to give the Lions a pretty good amount of stuff because it's not like they're giving them Chris Harris, right? He's going to be a free agent. So you're kind of just losing Darius Slay for a pick, and they don't have a first-round pick to give him return. So I think the only thing that I would say that possibly could make sense here with Denver, if you're not getting a player as well, if you trade away Darius Slay, I'm asking for the second. I'm telling you, my asking price is high. At least your second and third. I know that's a lot, but teams that need a cornerback, obviously, they're going to go for it. And a team like Denver Broncos makes sense. You would save some money. You'd be able to go get a cornerback in return and free agency, possibly with the money that you are saving. So that's what's interesting about that. And the Denver Broncos actually do have enough money to make this happen. Now, the other team in the Rams, I'm not sure why this is even coming up because they can't really do it. I don't know. I've heard they have about $20 million in cap space, in free space that they're going to have. You know how much Darius Slay wants? Okay, first of all, they don't have much cap room, so they almost can't do it at all. Secondly, they don't have a first-round pick in the next 2 years. They don't have a first-round pick this year or next year. And they just traded for Jalen Ramsey. So I have no idea why the Rams would make this happen. Trade away Marcus Peters at one point, who had his best season at 2019, because he didn't want to pay him, because they knew they had to resign him the next offseason. So you know what? They're like, oh, let's trade Marcus Peters, even though he just had his best season. So why would they go trade for Darius Slay? I don't know. I really don't know. But I guess it could happen. I mean, maybe they want to get Jalen and Slay. That would be clean. We know at one point we thought Jalen could become a Lion. I wish he would have, but he didn't. That would have been pretty fire. It didn't happen. So maybe they're trying to make that happen over in LA, but I just don't see how they can do it with not really any money to re-sign him. Maybe you're trying to get him for a rental. I don't know. I guess basically their hope is that if this trade can go through, what I've gotten from Rams fans or Rams pages is that if they gave us Brandon Cooks and their third round pick for Darius Slay. Now, me personally, I wouldn't do that. I know some people are like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good. Now, Brandon Cooks had a pretty much a down year, okay, and that's what's already not good. He's got a pretty big contract, and those two things aren't very beautiful. I don't think wide receiver is even that big of a need anyways, and you're getting a third round pick. Nah, like that's not enough for me because now you're losing out on a cornerback. I feel like you're not getting a lot of money back because you're getting Brandon Cooks. The money's going to Brandon Cooks. So yes, your offense may be a little bit better, but your defense didn't get any help. You didn't get a cornerback unless you're expecting a third round to be your number one. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me unless the Rams just blew them away, but I don't know how they can because they don't have a lot of assets to do it and they don't have the money to do it. So I don't think they make a lot of sense, but Denver is kind of the lead dog to possibly get Darius Slay, and at least in their situation, I could actually see it possibly happening again. They don't have a first-round pick, and Chris Harris is going to be a free agent. So it wouldn't be via trade. It'd be the Lions signing him free agency. They would save a little bit of money, but they would have to give the Lions a few picks, not just their second-round pick. I mean, I'm not taking Slay for a 52nd pick in the draft. I'm sorry. If you're doing that, cool. I'm not. I'm not saying, here you go, here's a second-round pick, and you give me Darius Slay. Forget that. I don't care if he's on his last year. That's not enough for me, all right? I'm asking more than that. You need to put in a couple picks there, all right? You gotta throw in a few things there for me, okay? Even if they're future picks, you gotta throw in a few things. That's just not enough. So we'll see what happens. Again, none of this may happen. He may go somewhere else. He may not get traded at all. I don't know. Like I said, I would have a high asking price, or I would hold on to him for his final year because that is his contract year. We'll see what happens, but I did want to give this to you guys. What do you guys think? What would you be asking for? And do you think either of these teams are actually fits for Darius Slay? Thank you for watching, and I'm out.